What really drives human behavior? Why do some people self-destruct while others seem to control everything around them? In The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene, we peel back the layers of human behavior and reveal truths that most of us overlook. Throughout this series, we're diving into all 18 of Greene's laws to explain why people act the way they do. Today, we're covering laws 7 to 12. Trust me, once you understand these, you'll never see people the same way again. Ready? Let's dig into what really makes us tick. Law 7. Soften people's resistance by confirming their self-opinion. The Law of Defensiveness. Have you ever noticed how people get defensive when they feel attacked or criticized? It's natural. Greene's 7th law tells us that if we want to influence others, we have to make them feel valued and respected. By confirming their self-worth, you're essentially lowering their defenses, and that's when persuasion becomes a lot easier. Think about it. We live in a competitive world, and people are always on guard, protecting their interests. If they feel like you're trying to manipulate or criticize them, they'll resist. But if you make them feel like they're in control, like they're acting out of their own free will, suddenly they're way more open to hearing you out. Lyndon Baines Johnson, the 36th President of the United States, was a master at this. Johnson had an incredible ability to make people feel important, regardless of their rank. He'd engage in flattery, complimenting political allies and even opponents in subtle ways. By doing this, he made people feel appreciated, which helped him win them over, even if they started off disagreeing with him. So what's the trick here? Never attack people for their beliefs or intelligence. Instead, make them feel noble, like they're doing something good. When people feel secure in their decisions, they're more likely to cooperate with you. By creating that feeling of mutual warmth, whether in business or personal relationships, you can disarm their defensiveness and create smoother, more cooperative interactions. Law 8. Change your circumstances by changing your attitude. The Law of Self-Sabotage. Many of us unknowingly sabotage ourselves by the way we interpret our circumstances. Greene explains that people often trap themselves in patterns of self-sabotage due to a fixed mindset. We become prisoners of our thoughts, making the same mistakes repeatedly, unable to see beyond our perceived limitations. Take the story of Anton Chekhov, a 19th century Russian playwright. Chekhov came from a poor and dysfunctional family. It would have been easy for him to adopt a victim mindset, to believe his tough circumstances would dictate his future. But instead, Chekhov flipped the narrative. He saw his struggles as a source of strength and turned his suffering into creativity. Chekhov's ability to reframe his mindset helped him rise above his circumstances. He didn't let his background define him. Instead, he used it to fuel his work, creating stories filled with empathy and insight. By shifting his perspective, Chekhov escaped the cycle of self-sabotage and transformed his life. What's the takeaway? We all have the power to change the story we tell ourselves. The ultimate freedom comes from understanding that your attitude shapes your reality. When you embrace a positive mindset, you attract new opportunities. But if you're stuck in a negative loop, projecting fear and hostility, you'll sabotage your relationships and your own success. Change your mindset, and you'll change your circumstances. Law 9. Confront your dark side. The Law of Repression. Every person has a darker side. Those emotions and desires we prefer to hide from others and even from ourselves. Greene explains that repressing these feelings doesn't make them go away. it only buries them deeper, where they fester and grow. Eventually, these repressed feelings surface in destructive ways, often when we least expect them. Look at Richard Nixon, the 37th President of the United States. Nixon's paranoia and insecurities haunted him throughout his career. Instead of confronting his fear of losing power, he suppressed it. This repression led to increasingly secretive and unethical actions, including spying on political rivals, which eventually resulted in the Watergate scandal. In 1972, members of Nixon's re-election campaign were caught breaking into the Democratic National Committee headquarters. Rather than take responsibility, Nixon attempted to cover it up with lies and manipulation. As the scandal unfolded, it became clear that his fear of losing control led to his downfall, ultimately forcing him to resign from office in 1974, the first US president ever to do so. Greene warns that repressed emotions often leak out in contradictory behavior, emotional outbursts, or flat-out denial. To prevent this from happening, we need to recognize our own dark side. Instead of pretending it doesn't exist, we need to understand and manage it. By acknowledging our inner fears, jealousy, and desires, we take control of them, rather than letting them control us. Once you confront and integrate these darker impulses, you'll become more authentic and complete. And here's the bonus. People will sense that authenticity. They'll be drawn to your honesty and strength because you've done the work to know yourself. Law 10. Beware the fragile ego, the law of envy. Let's be honest. Envy is one of those emotions we all feel, but never really want to admit. It sneaks up on us when we start comparing ourselves to others and feeling like we don't measure up. And when envy goes unchecked, it can quietly sabotage relationships and your own happiness. Take the American writer Gore Vidal, for example. Vidal once said, "Every time a friend succeeds, a little part of me dies." That's envy in a nutshell. Instead of celebrating the success of others, Vidal let envy consume him, poisoning his relationships with his peers and preventing him from finding true happiness in his own accomplishments. So how do we handle envy? Greene suggests using envy as motivation instead of letting it eat away at us. Rather than resenting others, we should learn from their success. Focus on improving yourself instead of constantly comparing yourself to others. When you acknowledge envy, you strip it of its power. It's no longer silently influencing your actions. Instead, you can use that energy to fuel your drive for self-improvement. Law 11. Know your limits, the law of grandiosity. Success can be a tricky thing. Sure, it feels great in the moment, but it can also lead to grandiosity, an inflated sense of self. Greene calls this the success delusion, where a small taste of success makes you think you're untouchable. But that inflated view can make you lose sight of reality, leading to bad decisions and ultimately failure. Think about it. After achieving something big, it's easy to think it's all because of your talent. But we often forget the role luck, timing, or even the help of others played. Greene warns us to stay grounded, to reflect on what really contributed to our success. Was it really all your doing, or were there other factors at play? The antidote to grandiosity is simple: stay humble. After each success, take a step back and think about the external factors that helped you. Ask yourself, was it all me, or were there external influences that played a role? Keeping a realistic assessment of your strengths and limitations will prevent grandiosity from undermining your future achievements. Law 12. Reconnect to the masculine or feminine within you, the law of gender rigidity. Here's something we don't think about often. We all possess both masculine and feminine qualities, shaped by genetics and the influence of the parent of the opposite sex. However, society encourages us to over-identify with either the masculine or feminine role expected of us, which leads to rigidity. This rigidity limits our potential as we suppress important aspects of our character to fit societal norms. Greene argues that to unlock our full power and creativity, we must reconnect with those lost or underdeveloped qualities, whether they are masculine or feminine. By integrating these traits, we can become more fluid in our thinking and action, breaking free from rigid gender expectations. Caterina Sforza, an Italian noblewoman from the 15th century, exemplifies this balance. When her family's castle was under attack, she first used her feminine charm to manipulate her enemies, feigning weakness to lull them into complacency. However, when it was time for action, she displayed a masculine, warrior-like spirit by leading her troops in combat, defying gender norms of the time. Sforza's ability to blend both qualities made her a formidable leader who could navigate the expectations of her era while maintaining her power. By reconnecting with the neglected aspects of our nature, we become more authentic and powerful. We free ourselves from rigid roles and unlock creative potential, which allows us to lead and live more effectively. So there you have it, Laws 7 to 12 of the Laws of Human Nature. These laws teach us to understand human defensiveness, confront our own self-sabotage, acknowledge the repressed parts of ourselves, and avoid the pitfalls of envy and grandiosity. Each law is a tool to help us navigate relationships, power dynamics, and our own inner struggles more effectively. But we're not done yet. Make sure to watch the first part if you haven't already, and don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the final part, where we'll explore Laws 13 to 18 and unlock even more tools for mastering human psychology and gaining control over your interactions and decisions.